to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paul Cuny,
Excused.
Al Davis. Here. Charlie Keel.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Robert Laraway.
Here.
Fred Peavy.
Here.
Carol Shannon here. Dave Torgerson.
Here. We have quorum 6.
Okay, cool.
The agenda is before you. No objections, we'll accept the agenda as shown. Unanimous consent. Okay. Consent agenda. Anything you want to take out, to examine, talk about? Okay.
Move to accept.
Motion made by Laraway to accept the consent agenda, seconded by
I'll second.
Keel. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, we're down to zoning board of appeals appointments and Mr.
I got it.
It's on the board up there.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
For ZBA, 1 3-year term remainder, Mr. Malcolm. And zoning board of appeals through the planning commission representative would be Jeff Gray. And Mr. Coolin would want to be, as you confirmed.
Yes.
Does anyone have any objection to any of those appointments?
No.
Okay. So, okay, we'll accept those appointments as made. Okay. Mr. Manning.
Good evening. You have read the lengthy report in your packet. There are 7 items I wanted to touch base with you guys on this evening. The first one is that we were very blessed to receive $9,995 this year in fireworks donations. 2,720 were online donations. We had a goal this year of raising $8,000, so we are starting next year already with about 1,800 towards that effort. The thought that I had is if we were to go from 16 to 20 and still keep our goal of raising half, we would be well along that way if we got just the same level of support pretty much we got this year. I reached out to our fireworks company. They said that was a number they were comfortable working with. So, obviously we need to, confirm that later on, but one, I reached out to them because I heard that they were retiring. They said they were happy to come back next year. So, but that's kind of what I'm thinking for next year. Nothing but positive feedback from that night. Show was good. We didn't have any issues community wise in terms of police issues, crowd issues. So all in all, it was a really, really good night this year. Second, we did sign and submit the paperwork for the conversion of our accounting software to move from fund balance to BS&A. BS&A is the vendor that we have for taxes. The issues that we are seeing now with fund balance are continuing. As you may remember, we had an issue earlier this year with it. Most recently, we almost did not have financials for this meeting because for some reason it decided to delete a check that had already been posted and journaled from April. We were $17 off on our accounting this month and we could not figure out why. And it took 2 days of tech support for them to resolve it because the good tech support person wasn't who we got on the first day. Also along those lines, there's a weird quirk in it right now where if Jessica goes to print checks, it no longer allows for any functionality of our printer. We have to go out and delete and reinstall it whenever she tries to print from fund balance. No other computer on our network has this issue, so the only thing we can think of is it's that specific software that's got some type of bug or something that needs to be
Me
worked out.
signing checks, would it transfer to my printer? Because I have the same problem with my friend.
Well, you're just cheap, Charlie. You just don't rent them.
Oh, yes, same repair guy.
I think.
It's a virus.
Oh, yeah.
Not my fault.
Yeah, our T guy's right there.
We're gonna blame you, huh?
There's
He's
both
trying
problems,
to
but neither
anyway.
one are my fault.
The idea that I had, that I've thrown out to a couple people, I think it would be a worthwhile evening if we were to do some type of situational awareness, Alice training. Invite all of our boards, invite the LIPOA board, have a like pizza, you know, some type of lighter meal, not the taco bar that we did last time. But I think that'd be a worthwhile night to, you know, have some tabletop discussions, those type of things. So people, you know, can have more awareness in meetings, things to look out for, things that, you know, someone's acting a certain way, or if they come in a July night and they're in a full trench coat, boy, that should raise some alarm bells in your mind that that's not the norm here, folks. With your permission, I'd like to move forward with trying to set something up. I was going to invite Luke Sawyer. He's the chief of police from Shepherd. He does this type of training in his off time.
I think it's good, teacher. I think it's good.
Yep.
I'll work on that. Another thing that wanted to present to you for your feedback. As you know, earlier this year, we adopted an incidental expenditures policy. And I looked into the possibility of, you know, some type of minor token of appreciation for the people who serve on our boards. They do it without compensation. You know, I was thinking like a coffee tumbler. I talked to our finance attorney, and it's like, you know, if you're going to do that, you should probably amend the policy to include that type of activity. So didn't know what your feedback feelings on that were. You know, I'm looking at it from the standpoint, it is increasingly difficult to find volunteers. You know, it's one way that we can show appreciation for the time that they get back to the community.
And in some cases, there are a lot of hours involved.
Yeah, and in some cases, they take a lot of crap too. For it, too.
Yeah, good point. Yes, good point. Mhm.
Not to bring up any planning commission meetings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea.
I do too.
Yeah.
Is this the same policy that restricts you like $50 for expenditure?
Yeah.
Like to raise that as well.
Yeah.
I think that should go up to 100.
Good idea.
Hasn't been raised in a lot of years.
Yep.
Inflation's gone up.
Saves you that much.
Can't
You
buy
have to
anything.
stand, tank of gas.
I'd like to see that go up to 100 as well, is what we want.
You're gonna present that next week?
Yeah, I'll work
Next
on
meeting?
that. Yeah, sometime between now and then. I'm off for 10 days, but. Cold water road drainage proposal, you've got kind of a working draft that Roe has put together conceptually about what it would look like to do that project. We talked about that in May, if my memory's correct. Are we on the right track with what we're gonna eventually propose back to you? Are the things that we're missing in there that you want to see?
So the cost of the overall proposal will be approximately,
Yeah, that's my guess.
and they're going to do, refresh my memory.
So, let's see.
I mean, I know they've got it listed here, but
Yeah.
I want to, I'm a visual. I gotta see it.
Obtain topographic centerline elevations along Coldwater baseline and the lagoon area. Complete a hydraulic analysis to preliminary size the ditches and culverts along the proposed conveyance route. Analyze the existing ponds to determine if modifications are available. That's their DPW pond up front.
So we're talking about
We're talking about what
drainage from
Coldwater
right
baseline.
here
Yep.
to baseline.
Yep.
And then baseline to our
Lagoons.
lagoon
Is what we're-
system.
Yeah, is what we're looking at is probably the best option.
So they would go under baseline
Yeah, we would do a culvert.
from north and south or east and west.
We would have to go a north-south at some point in time. There isn't a culvert
Right.
at the intersection. So kind of the thought that we had from our initial kickoff meeting is if we can get the water at least going in that direction,
Right.
we can do that culvert once it goes to gravel. So we're not breaking up the asphalt near the intersection. and
Okay.
messing with that. So if we can get that all over to one side, preferably the south side, we could shoot that all the way down then.
And then go across.
Yep, probably put in a culvert where the Morries have the access to the field. at
So
the
there's
corner
enough
there.
drop there?
Yeah, there should be actually. In front of the dog kennel is relatively high compared to the rest of the area through there.
Because I know that it settles there, the water settles there.
Yeah, we did ditching.
It
We added ditching and we put in like 4 inches thickness of gravel on
Picking the
base
road
there.
up, yeah.
We also, when we first did Birdie, I want to say, we did a paving project on Birdie where we milled out a bunch of asphalt. We took those millings and put them on the existing baseline road and then put the gravel on top of it. And that has actually solved a significant amount of the issues we've had with the ditching now, that water is able to get out. So it's not the
Okay.
total mud pit it is in the spring.
The baseline's pretty good, except the last.
Yeah.
100 yards.
So if we're on the right track and keep going on that.
I think so. Anybody else?
I also want to share that I encouraged Jessica to apply to the MML 1650 program.
Yeah.
This was a program that came out about 4 years ago, I think, give or take. And the idea here is that women make up roughly 50% of our state's population, but they only represent 16% of local government managers. So city, village managers, county administrators. So this is a program that is intentionally designed and structured to increase their skills and also their leadership skills, their interviewing skills, all the things that would help make them a successful candidate if they wanted to move into an administrative position in the future. She was accepted. It was a very competitive program, and her first session is in August, and it's done by the end of the year. So I think I put the information in the packet about the different sessions. But it's a very good program, and I'm looking forward to,
So this program is for existing people.
Yep.
To encourage them to apply
future, yeah.
in the future.
And
Because
yeah,
the premise is good, except I think some people just aren't aware of it or don't even care about doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I wonder why that would be.
I don't know about the 1650 idea, but I understand the intent.
If you look back at some of the
You gotta
previous,
want to do it.
previous people who've gone through the program, you see a lot of participants who have been clerks or finance directors, those type of, senior assistant level positions that just haven't looked to go to the next level in terms of being the manager in the career path. And, this helps them get those skills if that's something that interests them. Even if it doesn't, it still enhances their leadership skills, their presentation skills, all those type of things.
Yeah.
So good program.
Good role.
And then last but not least, we have 2 new employees. The first one is a robotic vacuum who does a fantastic job in the hallway out there. We hit it for 30 minutes and every night the hallway's sparkling clean in the morning.
Does it have a name?
Johnny 5,
Okay, thank you.
short circuit.
We have a cat. that'll sit on it, yeah.
Yep, I wish. Or a iPad and do like DJ Roomba.
Yeah.
But more importantly, as you know, we brought on a new code enforcement officer. Mr. James Durham is here. He is the former chief of police in the village of Breckenridge. I did put the bar pretty high and said, the village has done well coaching talent from Breckenridge in the past, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would like to introduce himself to you guys and just have chat with him if you want, so.
Take the
Go
floor.
take the floor, Jim.
Again, I am James Durham, and as Tim has said, I recently retired after 30 years at the village of Breckenridge. Started there as a police reserve while I was going to school, and as luck would have it, the old chief was retiring, and I got done with school, and they hired me full-time. And full-time in 1992, but I'd been there part-time in 1990. So I spent 30 years at the village of Breckenridge. I kept my eye on.
I was gonna ask you what stories you had.
As he was going through high school.
Yeah.
Oh, he
He's
went.
not
to
the reason
high
for
school?
the hair loss. there's other
Yeah.
kids. But I since retired May 1st, and my wife and I have a 40-acre horse farm just south of Reed City. So if I'm not here, Lake Isabella, I do work 1 day a week for the village of Barrington at their police department. I'm cleaning horse stalls, which covers my room and board at the farm. So, but I'm typically going to be here Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've kind of hit the ground running. Rode around with him for a couple of days, and he showed me all the areas to, be watchful of, and how each community has ways of handling things, and how we like to handle things here, work with the community. And I feel that I'd be a good fit, and just happy to be here and be able to contribute to your community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty shady.
We asked him to do that.
I know, figure that out.
I think what, at least 2 or 3 of you have been in and met him. I know Charlie and Bob have and talked to him, but he certainly improved my workload already in the first month. Just being able to have him here 2 days has been very, very good for me. So definitely appreciate having him.
All right, thank you, Jim. Sherman Township report. Jeff, you're up.
Just a couple of quick things. We met last night. We had a work session before our normal meeting. It looks like we're pretty much close to 100% in agreement that the ARPA monies that we're going to spend, we actually got our second payment earlier this month. So we've got all of our money together. Looks like we're going to look at doing the walking path all the way around Sherman Township Park over there around the baseball field and all that stuff. We did get a real quick quote from Right Way for just over 100,000 to pave the whole thing, but they're looking at doing an 8-foot wide walkway, which in my mind, 8 foot is a lot wider than most of the other ones, but I could be wrong. And then we're also talking about putting up some solar lighting all the way around so people can still walk around at night. And then I made the suggestion that we also put the main pavilion there, since we've had some issues with some kids around there doing some damage and stuff like that. Bringing Wi-Fi in there, but we're gonna actually turn around and broadcast Wi-Fi through the whole park. So that anybody gets smart watches or any of that kind of stuff like that, if they're doing the walking and stuff, will be on the internet. Have access for that as well. So I believe that's where we're gonna go and spend most of our money. The other part of it, we're asking Chief Livermore to bring in some small projects that we can help fund, because we're split between 2 townships, Sherman and Nottawa. There's a lot we can't do without 50% from Nottawa as well, and they're tied up with their sewer system, so they're pretty much, not releasing any money. So I think we're gonna look at some smaller, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 projects that Sherman Township is willing to fund to help do that stuff, so he's gonna get some information for us that way. And then the second thing is we had just received 2 notices that there are 2 local companies here, one of them here, like Isabella, that is taking Sherman Township the full tax tribunal, which means we have to involve lawyers and the whole shebang at this point. So the Dollar General in Wademan is doing it. Apparently they do that with all their stores, trying to say that they want to reduce their tax burden. And Pines Golf Course, new owner, is also now doing the same thing, where he's saying because there's such a shortage of golfers, that he doesn't need to pay that high of a tax that he's being assessed by our local assessor. So, so we're giving a heads up notice to our Sherman Township legal team that that's going to come down the road from there. I'm hoping it's not going to be expensive, but the differences they're asking for were huge. So it's not something we're just going to say, yeah, we don't care. So, so it looks like it's probably going to be something that will get toward court. Hopefully not all the way there. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on those things. And then the Wademan days went over really, really well. If anybody, you guys attended it all, I was there. Probably the biggest turnout they've ever had so far, especially with the truck pull that they had. If you guys were there for that, that was incredible to watch. So I've never been to one before, so maybe I'm just easily impressed. But they had semi trucks at the end that were running all the way off the track that they had made there because of all the power that were in those trucks. And it was fun to watch. And then they did their annual around the block fire department rescue ambulance parade. So they wait till just before dusk. They line up all the emergency vehicles. They get them in from the tribe, Shepherd, all the different areas they come in. It's a big long line with the full sirens and lights and the whole shebang. So that was pretty cool to see. I felt like a 10-year-old kid again, watching all the sirens and everything going on. So I'm going to try to make that an annual thing to go see. I would encourage you guys to do as well. So that's it for Sherman Township.
Thank you. We have a bipolar report.
I was there at the meeting, if you don't mind real quick. They didn't cover a lot, but there was a 100% agreement in conversation about the project that you guys will be talking about here later on. There was no problem, no doubt. They're 100% in now. So.
All right, thank you,
Mhm.
John. Public hearing, resolution 2214. Mr. Manning.
You fortunately only have one public hearing this month. As you remember, last month, there were two properties. One of the other property individual came in and paid for it. Down to one. This is the confirmation of a single parcel special assessment roll for 1036 Cordova Lane to recover $135.25 in expenses for blight abatement. The tell on the screen there is what the blight abatement was. Grass that was certainly over the 8-inch allowance in our ordinance. It was abated on June the 20th. We've mailed the owner of record notice of the hearing, and we've not had any response to date. This is a property where we've had to do this on an annual basis, so.
I was there. How many times have we done this one?
Okay, so we have to have public hearing.
Yep.
Public hearing is open at 7:21. Anybody from the public need to say anything about this? Public comment? Seeing none? Meeting closed.
I have a comment. Oh, it's not on this subject.
Yeah, this is different. No, 60 seconds. Meeting closed, 7:21. Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept this resolution 2022-14.
Motion made by Keel to accept resolution 2022-14. Seconded by Laraway. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Charlie Keel,
Yes.
Robert Laraway.
Yeah.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul Cuny, absent. Al Davis.
Yes.
Dave Ferguson.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, this is the portion of the meeting, the first of two opportunities for public comment. Couple of little things that we do all the time in public comment, name and address for the record. Keep your comments to about 3 minutes, and then after public comment is over, the board will discuss what was said. Any public comment?
Mike Fiorillo, Little Flower Barn, 565 North Coldwater Road. First of all, I want to thank the council for having the faith in us 3 years ago to let us build a wedding barn. Really appreciate that. It's been pretty much wildly successful. We have 90 weddings under contract right now through 2024, with room for another 80 or 90 in that same time frame. Our property we donated to the Beale City Schools and the Chippewa Hill Schools for their proms, while covering their insurance costs, their expenses that they incur while they're there, such as ice and other things. We're donating the property use for Chippewa Watershed Conservancy for their annual fundraiser. Starting this year, we're going to be working with Hopewell Ranch for their annual fundraiser, also at no charge, covering their insurance and extra cost at our venue. We have 1 full-time employee, 3 part-time employees. And we're kind of in a great place in the wedding market, in that we, in the Central Michigan area, we're offering more for less money as far as premium venues go. But anyway, I just want to update you where we're at there. The reason I'm here is because of the blight issue. You'll notice in that handout I sent out, we've been looking at a big sand pit behind our wedding barn, which is directly outside the windows of our head table, for about 2 years now. Golf course, scraped off the black dirt, put in piles left and right of the sand pit to access the sand, which they ended up not using because their asphalt contractor did not want blow sand as a base for their new asphalt cart paths. So in 2 years' time, this pit has not been covered. They've used it to deposit 2 little loads of sand that you can see at the far right corner, just underneath our barn. I've talked to them once or twice about it, and they have no intention of spending $500 to take that black dirt and cover that sand. They also have a pile of brush that you can see in the lower picture, which was from a storm a year ago. That's been piled up out there that has not been removed and put with the rest of their brush down here by the super or the greenskeeping building. This pit issue, for what I've seen in the code, can be addressed by one of two issues. As an unfinished excavation, Tim had some correspondence with the village lawyer, who seemed to express the opinion that an unfinished excavation in the village code is defined as being related to a building. I find no definition in the code of an unfinished excavation, let alone it being defined as being related to a building. This is not a building they were building out here. It's just a 3-foot deep hole in the ground. The attorney also mentioned that this would realistically be considered surface mining, which it is. It's a borrow pit. To the best of my knowledge, a borrow pit on any property in Lake Isabella has to be borrowing things from that pit for something off-site, something that's not on their property. That's not the case. They moved away black dirt, took this crappy sand out of there, put it on their property. So in my mind, there are two code violations here that should warrant a letter to the golf course to remove that, or to cover that borrow pit and remove the brush that's there. I just would like to get some resolution on this. We take great pride in the way our property looks. I was in violation of a tire holding my gate shut a couple of weeks ago. I got a letter, took care of it. I was in violation when I built my building that I did not color my new reception barn in the red that I had put on my plans. Somebody was opposed to the gray color on that building, and we spent 10 or 12 of us spent an hour in here a year ago, and 2 people actually voted against me keeping my gray color on my red barn. My point being is the code seems in 2 locations to prohibit what's being done directly outside my window. If this were to be done on a lake lot, or say somebody, well, has a lake next to a $500,000 house, they want to add some sand to the beach. So they're going to scoop away the black dirt and start adding sand to the beach from that hole and leave it set there for 2 years. You think that's going to get noticed? Is that going to get corrected? I think so. This is the exact same situation. I've got 10,000 people coming here this year. They look out in what was once a nice grassy field. They see a sand pit and a bunch of dead trees over there.
Okay.
And it's got to be corrected.
All right.
If there are any questions I could answer.
We'll ask you if we want some. What's our feeling on this? It doesn't look 3 feet deep, but
I play by it. Oh, and it's not true.
to me, it looks like a waste bunker.
That's-
It's,
The last I read from our
Tor-
attorney's response, it was a bunker.
yeah,
There's comments.
Woods
golf
there.
courses.
It's not a waste bunker.
That's-
It's not
that's the
in
last
play.
I read.
you had your talk.
Our attorney's input on it. Was that it was common to golf courses. And this is something that's what I read.
So did they take the sand and go anyplace with it?
My understanding is you tried to use it for their cart path project. But needed gravel down there as opposed to sand, so
So that's it.
that's all they
They
used.
peeled off the black dirt. And they were gonna use it, but they didn't take it.
Didn't take it,
So it's not a borrow pit.
They took a lot of it out there.
didn't they?
I don't know.
I mean, I watched them do it for 3 weeks in a row.
It can't be too much because it's not deep.
It's also 60 by 200 feet.
I've been on golf courses that got those things, because I hate cursed them before. Grant, what do you think?
I don't know, I haven't paid attention to it since I've been golfing on the, I wish I would have looked at it more, but we played the front last week. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a violation or not. I don't think it is. If it's if on a golf course, it's on somebody's house, that's a different story.
No, all they have to do is prove that there's another golf course with the same thing. Is that kind of what I'm thinking? If they can prove that there's a golf course with the same thing, then is there anything that we can do about it? My question would our hands be tied at that point?
There's golf courses all over up north that got
That-
sand that goes forever off to the edges of it.
You know, I can sympathize with Mike, you know, like I say, it's right out his
Yeah.
window, but I don't know what we can do, Mike. You know, if they can prove that this is, you know, other golf courses have it.
Common practice.
Yeah.
They prove common practice.
This was not made as a component to the golf course. This was made as a borrow pit, plain and simple. I watched them take sand out of there for 3 weeks in a row.
Well,
Spread it all around the golf course.
I guess my comment is, like I say, I sympathize with you. But if they can prove that other golf courses and it's a common practice, what are we gonna, how are we gonna change it? You know,
Well, it's not in
if a lot of
place
the
for
other golf
starters.
courses have this.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Who up here is a golfer?
Mike, relax. You had 5 minutes.
I've had 2 years to. look
Let's
at
talk
it
it through it. Let's talk through it.
Okay.
Thank you. So your point is
Well,
that if other golf courses have that, regardless of how they took it or what they did with it, if they have that same exposure of this, then it's part of a golf course.
yeah, what can we do? That's my point in my question.
Bob?
I have to agree with that completely, regardless of why they created it. If what they created is common to golf courses, I don't see how we have any authority to direct them to remove it.
Right.
I agree.
Brent, what do you think?
I mean, even it's been so dry this summer. I mean, even if there's black dirt, there, I don't know if anything would have grown anyway. That's like, they're having major problems with their sprinklers. I know they have a guy that waters all night long. I mean, the brush, I think they could take care of the brush. I don't know what's in there for that, but I mean, I wouldn't want to look at a brush pile, but
Yeah, that could probably be done.
I wouldn't think that that's that big a deal.
Well, I will remind you, when we get a complaint like this, we enforce it uniformly against all properties in the village.
Yeah.
Right.
We started going brush piles. We got a lot of brush piles.
Yeah.
People have picked up, put them in their edges and whatnot.
So if we want to, we will do that.
I think they're, most of them are looking at it, that winter time, snow is covered, and we can burn it off. In some fairness, I've been by that spot quite often and looked out that way. I don't notice it as bad to look at. I don't want to be there with my golf ball. The other part of this whole thing is I do look at the barn. I think they've done an excellent job over there. I don't think anybody looks out that window because I think there's boards or doors or something up on that window at all the times I've ever been there. So it's not, I see anything now from their front porch. Yeah, they might look that way.
Well, understand, I don't support the brush pile part in any way, shape, or form. But if they've created basically a rough, which other golf courses, from what I'm told, have, I think other than the brush pile, there's not a lot we can do.
Yeah. I don't see anything. I think we're gonna have to go through what our lawyer says.
I would have to agree with that. I have a concern in that, I understand what you're saying, Mike, but it's difficult to regulate what you see on the window. I mean, that's just not our job, is it? Completely? I mean, if somebody comes and says, I don't like what's outside my window, and I can have an ordinance somehow interpret the ordinance that it affects that, it's a little confusing to me, I think, that we're using the ordinance to determine what I should see out my window.
It's a golf course.
I know.
Okay, I don't see us moving on this. Okay. Okay. You have a chance for public comment again, Mike, at the end. Existing business. Are there any other? No, any other public comment?
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
Somebody I want-
No, I didn't.
I promise.
How many times do we say that? and Nobody says a word.
Right.
My name is Erin Zimmer. I live at 517 East Grand Avenue in Mount Pleasant, and I appreciate the opportunity to represent or introduce myself as a candidate for state representative for the 92nd district, which is effectively Roger Huff's office. He is running for state senate. I'm a lifelong resident of Isabella County. I grew up in the Rosebush area, and my husband and I are raising our kids in Mount Pleasant now. I love this area, and I'm so excited about the opportunity to represent it. I currently am working in mental health, but I have a degree in political science and worked for the state legislature for 4 years. So I'm excited to take all that I've learned working in mental health and represent that arena in Lansing, because I believe it's really underserved at this point. I've been endorsed by many organizations, but a couple I want to talk about. I was endorsed by Michigan Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Association of Michigan, and the Police Officers Association of Michigan. So I'm really excited about the backing I have, and just excited to represent this district. I'm running as a Republican. So thank you.
Okay,
I'll be here afterwards too if anyone has any questions.
thank you. Any others? I don't want to miss any. Okay, now we're on to existing business. Lake restoration agreement. Mr. Matt.
Sure, your first item of existing business tonight is the proposed lake bottom restoration agreement. The association approved this language at their meeting last Wednesday. This is what they got back from their attorney. There are no substantive changes from what was originally presented. Just adding like bottom toward, lake bottom as opposed to just lake restoration was really about the only substantive change. So,
okay.
It is ready for your approval.
And they went to the 2.75.
That's what they, of the two scenarios that were presented, they said, that one is the one that they would go with simply because the cost difference is pretty minimal and what we're asking people, the majority of people, I should say, not the big bucks waterfront owners like Mr. Keel over there.
Shoot.
Okay. So, let's see. So everything, they've already signed it?
They haven't signed it, we have to adopt it first.
Okay, we're gonna adopt it and then,
You and Larry can both sign it.
okay. So, I'll entertain a motion. Motion made by Shannon to accept
Except the
proposed.
wait, I gotta say all the words.
Okay.
Community improvement bond, ballot language, and lake bottom restoration.
No, that's not it.
What am I doing?
This is
Proposed lake
this
bottom
one.
restoration agreement.
This
Oh,
is
the
a-
lake
this is-
bottom
This is just an
restoration
agreement
agreement.
between us and them.
Ah, got it. Okay, cool. Then that's what I am proposing, that we adopt this agreement. please.
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion made by Shannon, seconded by Keel to accept proposed lake restoration agreement. Further discussion? Seeing none, let's have a roll call.
Yes, sir. Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Al Davis,
Yes.
Charlie Keel,
Yes.
and Dave Torgerson.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Okay, that's 2022-15. This is the one you think.
Yeah, sorry.
Your second item is a resolution that would place before the voters of this community a recreation improvements bond proposal this November. The language that is in the current draft before you would be for the 2.745 mil option. Projected to raise $2.28 million over the life of the bond the repayment. This would be split for trail improvements and the lake bottom restoration. The agreement that you just approved earmarks 50 to 60% of the bond proceeds toward lake bottom restoration efforts.
So all we have to do is, there's no public hearing or anything. We just have to approve the resolution. Everybody understand that? Everybody comfortable with that? Any questions? Need a motion?
I shall move that we support resolution 2022-15.
Motion made. You did say all the words.
I know.
Motion
I
made
don't
by
want- I
Shannon
know,
to
sorry.
accept resolution 2022-15. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by PV. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Paul Cuny, no. He's absent, sorry. Al Davis,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Charlie Keel,
Yes.
and Dave Torgerson.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. And now we go on to the ballot language.
I'm not talking anymore.
Your third item of business is a resolution to put the sheriff patrol millage on the ballot.
Right.
Based on the conversations at last month's meeting, the wording reflects the 1/3 mill option, which would raise an estimated $32,000 in its first year. I had a meeting with the sheriff Wednesday of last week. He's on board with continuing the current agreement that we have in place for the optional overtime. It's worked out well on his end. His staff like it. I've not heard negative feedback from our community about it. So this would pretty much cover what we're currently doing. They are going to be right around 30,000 this year in what they're doing. So the way this would work, obviously, is we would continue the agreement, and then whatever we would spend in the next budget year, this would cover the backfill. So you'd always be backfilling 1 year with it. So
Okay. What was the cost this year?
at the halfway point in the budget year is about 15 grand.
Okay, so that's awfully close. then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, that will change with our taxable value. So it's
Right.
1/3 of what that taxable value is. gonna
Whatever
be.
that tax.
So
Yeah. All right.
I make a motion to accept resolution 2022-16 with community police.
Motion made by Keel to accept resolution 2022-16. Is there a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Laraway. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Carol Shannon, yes. Al Davis,
Yes.
Charlie Keel,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Dave Torgerson.
Yes, motion carries. Good job bringing this all to fruition,
Yes.
Tim, and liaison. All right, new business. MDOT contract.
last year, we had submitted an application to MDOT for covering half the cost to repaint the runway. This comes up on our annual inspection report that the markings are faded, need to be repainted. I sent the contract over a couple of weeks ago, started to look through it and wanted to bring it to your attention. One attachment I or whatever it is has the typical MDOT language in there about a 20-year obligation. And with the current process of transferring ownership, that's something I think the council needs to consider and talk through, and also talk through with the pilots and the owners, that whether or not that's an obligation that they would be comfortable taking. The other side of that is the contract amount is a total of $2,200. Our match would be $1,100. you know, if we're gonna paint the runway, I would probably prefer just to reach out to our line painting crew that'll be here in August and see what it costs for them to do it. Because if it's roughly the same amount, there's no point in doing a 20-year obligation, in my opinion.
Is that just a standard that they put in the contract,
That's
the
in all their
20 years?
contracts.
Wow.
Wow, see,
Is there any way to change it?
Not if you want the grant money.
That's why we're locked in right now.
Yeah, oh, that's right,
Tree
that's the
cut.
20-year now, right?
Right.
Ah, got it.
They roll the purse strings.
I think that, yeah,
At this time, that's what I would suggest is, and then that way there's no lock-in for anybody.
Sure.
right,
You know,
because most of the pilots that began here are gone.
Yeah.
And who knows when we're around 20 years from now.
Exactly.
Don't want to commit
Exactly.
everybody to that.
Would the Pilots Association agree to do a 50-50?
Where's that? We're still trying to work through all that, so. you know, Just have to talk to them about it.
But I don't think we want to, I don't think we
But
want
I
the
would
grant.
say, I would
No.
say stay away from the state, you know, because no sense locking anybody. into
No,
something like that.
strings attached.
I did reach out already to Michigan pavement markings and with the assumption that this was the direction you were gonna wanna take. They do airports. They want to talk more about, you know, what that would entail on our end. You know, the cost did go up this year for our traffic markings we're gonna do. Typically, they've been around 8,000. They're gonna be like 10.5 this year, but they've kept the 8,000 for like 7 years. I mean, they were well over for an adjustment, but you know, a lot of people don't know that one of the key ingredients that goes into commercial
Mhm.
paint comes out of the Ukraine. It's a little hard to get that material these days. Yeah, where our church has a property in St. John's we're rehabbing, and they're like, yeah, good luck getting the paint right now. It's exterior paint, so for that reason, can't get out of Ukraine.
Okay.
When's our original agreement up on the airport?
So our current grant agreement that we're working through expires the end of 2025.
That's fine when they cut the pine at the other end.
Yep.
And Peg took down the-
Yeah, so there's been several grants we've obtained over the years for the airport. There was the initial one to pave the runway. There was the navigation easements that we secured at the east end of the runway, cut a bunch of trees. We've had a couple other for painting. We did a tree removal one over here over the years. So all in all, you know, when the village took the airport, MDOT initially gifted us $500,000 of matching money for the donation that Ledbetter's made to make it a public airport. During the Grand Home Administration, they clawed back half of that, said, oh, that was a mistake. We only give 50 cents on the dollar, not $1 on the dollar for land donation. You know,
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can visit that.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the next meeting. All right, software.
I like the pages, by the way. Yes, I do. Thank you.
I have free time since, you know, Jim's here. I had time to actually do that.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
It helps. don't it?
Yes, it does. It's very nice.
Helps know.
So I'm throwing this out there as an idea. I'm not recommending yay or nay, but it's something I wanted you guys to think about and see what your feedback on might be. As already discussed, we're converting our accounting software to BSNA. Our tax software is already BSNA. BSNA has a community development suite that would allow us to move our code enforcement software to BSNA. Currently, we are with Comcate. It's been our vendor and partner for probably a decade now, maybe a little bit longer. And that annual support fee comes in at about $2,500 right now, is our annual commitment with them. BSNA's annual commitment is about $1,800, so there would be a cost savings on that end of the equation. But from a workflow standpoint, I think having all of the software compatible in one database will make the workflow substantially easier and faster on our end as opposed to, Comcate's great is a cloud-based program, but if we want to access that, we've got to go online to that website, log in and do, search whatever we want to do. Where if someone's coming in to pay taxes, all of that information is in one spot, one database where you can click and see, here's all the permits, here's all the violations, all those type of things
For each property?
for each property.
Cool.
It would also allow, I believe, online permit payment as well. Right now, all of our permits are online. People can fill them out, PDF them back to us, but they can't pay online. So we tell people, hey, leave a check in the Dropbox, we'll get it in the morning, put it in the mail. I mean, at this point, the builders that we work with, we're pretty well trusting of who we can say that with. If it's a resident that's doing a fence or a shed, that's a $10 permit. It's like, put in the Dropbox, we'll get it, it's not the end of the world if we, don't, but. Did a demo last week. Charlie popped in and saw part of it, I think. Curious to know your thoughts. Yay,
Looked
nay?
good. Yeah, I mean, it looked easy to work with, I wasn't totally lost, maybe out to lunch, but, the cost on it, our old one was 2,400, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Annually, and you're saying the new one is 16?
Well,
It's, I think
1675.
1775.
1675.
Yeah. So long term, you would make your money back. I mean, we've had Comcate for a decade. You're gonna make that back.
I think it just makes sense to have everything be able to, your vertical articulation.
Yeah.
Get everything. in the
And,
same
and the
place.
guy that was working on it seemed very teacher-like. He could teach a person how to do it. So, Tim and I could understand. I know James, but
All right,
So far, we think that, huh?
so we're looking for a complete, so what are we looking for
If you want, I can put this on the agenda next month as an action item.
here? Yes,
yeah,
do that.
that's good.
That would be worthwhile.
All right.
Okay.
How much work is it on your end for the conversion?
Shouldn't be a lot, actually, because they do all the data migration. We work on Jeff's end to put it on the server. But on our end, it's literally just a training aspect of it. And,
You're
it's,
already familiar with
we're
that?
pretty familiar with, they throw in the proposal, like the worst case scenario for training, like, we're there 3 days, but literally when we did the tax software, we took a 3-hour class with every other person in the county and we're done. So, those prices do reflect like the worst case training scenario where they're here for like a week, so. It's a pretty simple user interface. If anyone wants to see how the tax program works, I can show you after the meeting.
All right, anything else for Tim on that? All right, second opportunity for public comment, same as before.
I'm Fox 6613 West Little Turway, Weidman. I was waiting to the end on this notice of public hearing on the change of venue on how you're gonna rezone. I was hoping you guys would be talking about that a little bit tonight, but since you didn't, I just need some more information. I don't know if I can make next Tuesday's meeting. So if you can't expound upon it tonight, give me some avenues to get that taken care of. If I have to come into the office or whatever. And one of the things I didn't know, it says a private park. So I just don't, I've got my properties listed here. I just don't know how they're gonna be impacted, if any. I'm not sure. So I would just,
I can talk to you after the meeting.
pardon?
I can talk to Eric at the meeting. if that works.
Oh, okay, yeah, it shouldn't take too long. And just the comment on all your tax increases. I'm hearing bad things for taxes going up quite substantially. We had some at Sherman Township. They said they expect because of the Headley Act and all that, and I'm not a tax guy. But I'm just saying, when you're gonna put all these additional taxes, I guess they're supposed to go up 8%, I heard. I don't know if that to be true or not, because of the inflation or so and whatnot. So I'm just bringing that forward. You're asking people to increase their taxes when they're already gonna be popping up, at least by what I've heard. Just FYI, that's it for me.
Mike? All right.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes.
From what I heard, the denial to address this seemed to be based on this potentially being classified as a waste dump. I mean, that's the feeling I got. I didn't get any feedback on how this wasn't an unfinished excavation or how this wasn't a borrow pit. It was a borrow pit. I saw it happen for about a month straight. Who up here is a regular golfer? Raise your hand. One used to be. Okay, the waste bunker is a trashy looking bunker. It looks like garbage. But it's also in play on the golf course. It's adjacent, directly adjacent to a fairway. It's behind the green. It's like the pond behind my barn. It's adjacent to a fairway and a little bit of rough. It's like a bunker in front of a green. This is not a waste bunker. It is 50 yards off the tee and 50 yards to the left. There's probably 20,000 golfers a year going by the house. And maybe a dozen end up in this sand pit. I don't know if Mr. Fig would bring that subject up if he was approached about covering it. I'm sure he probably would, that, well, we built a waste bunker. And yeah, he may say that, but it is not a waste bunker. I saw their bulldozers come in, push the dirt back. They brought in their 1927 excavator that's pulled behind a tractor and scooped the sand out 5 yards at a time, drug it all over the course. It was a borrow pit, plain and simple. And what they yielded from that pit was put on their property. And that basically is not classified as a borrow pit and thus warrants that it should be covered. An unfinished excavation, it can also be classified as because they made a hole and they covered up. There's no definition in the code that I could find that strictly said an unfinished excavation is only due to construction happening. I don't see an unfinished excavation defined that way anywhere, let alone any definition of unfinished excavation. Even the dictionary doesn't have unfinished excavation because it's two words. The top photo you see on the photo page, large set of windows on that west side, that is where the head table sits. That is where the bride and groom sit, right next to that window. The rest of the crowd is in the eastern part of the building, looking at the head table. We've basically gotten to the point now where 9 out of 10 brides are closing the doors that are behind that window, which we made as a sunblock, because they don't want to look out in that field that has a big sand pit in it. And, you know, for non-golfers to try and justify this as a waste bunker is not right. I don't know if you're trying to avoid a conflict with Mr. Fig, but
Time's almost up.
I'd like to see it corrected.
I don't think it'd be good. I haven't changed my mind.
No, I don't either.
I don't know how we can proceed.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
This last Saturday, the LIPOA had their annual picnic. I was there, Charlie was there as well. George King did a pretty good job talking to everybody there in the crowd about the lake restoration. Went talked to him about, you know, we need to do this, here's the benefits we're gonna get out of it, here's what's gonna happen if we don't do it. So I thought overall, you know, he did a really good job doing that. He spoke about some other things too, which I think were misinformation, so in my head, it sort of triggered, you know, we need to get on the ball now, not keep waiting and waiting and waiting to start talking to people about this stuff. Some of the questions out there were how much this gonna cost, which he said, if I remember correctly, anybody who was under taxable value under $50,000, I think he said $173 a year or something like that. I don't know if that number was accurate or not. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But those are obvious questions that people there are just hearing about some of this stuff. So we really need to get on the ball and get going. I actually think holding a picnic like that and inviting the residents around here to come have some hot dogs and water or chips or whatever, something
do
like
that.
those lines. I know you can't do that, that's what I was thinking, but somehow get people together so we can get the correct information out there and start doing that is gonna be to our benefit instead of waiting until it's too late. You know, the more we can get the news out there, the better. And to me, getting some kind of meeting together, to me, food seems to always be a way to get people to come and do stuff, you know, but that's what I would like to see you guys, start picking up and doing. I'm trying to get as much out there as I can too, but it's gonna take a bigger push if we're gonna do this. Tim's right, taxes are coming up. You know, I'm not as confident as I once was, is that we're gonna get this stuff passed in November if we have a whole bunch of other stuff that could be raising taxes as well. County's talking about it as well for the jail. I don't know if that's gonna come to fruition or not either, but. And then, secondly, I actually saw the ballot last night for the first time. I want to make sure that you guys know and try to spread the word that there are two sides to the ballot this time for Sherman and Brew. And the reason I'm saying that, my name's on the back. So I want to make sure people don't just do the front of the ballot. And what's deceiving is the ballot is only about 3/4 of the way full on the front. I don't know why they didn't put the back stuff on the front. I think they could have fit it. But maybe there's some other reasons, you know, for size or whatever, that they couldn't do it. So
Yeah, the primary, you have to list them in the column. So the Democrats are in a column, the Republicans are in a
That's true,
column,
you're
so
right.
you stay in the
Okay.
column that you're voting.
So either way, I want to make sure people are aware that there's two sides to the ballot. So if we let people otherwise know, I can't work the election this year. So I'm on the ballot, otherwise I'd be telling everybody walking in there about that. So I'll be working on another one. And then lastly, I'd like to just go on public record that my support, my vote is going for Arizona for our next representative. We have not had a lady in that position since St. Call. I really like that idea of having her doing something like that, and I like the legislative experience that she got her, that she can hit the ground running and start doing things right away instead of having to learn stuff. So publicly speaking, she's got my vote, so I would hope you guys would do the same. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Anybody else?
One thing at the picnic that was brought up, and I tried to answer it for him, was one person was concerned that the walkways would end up making it open to the entire world, like opening the lake up. And I told her, I said, no, the reason that's there is because we are able to apply for a grant with a DNR that would help to pay for that portion thereof. So that'll be something I'm sure some people will hear that, oh, we can, all of a sudden, everybody can come use it. It's still, like Isabella, is what it is.
But you're talking the walking path?
There's the walking path,
Okay,
yeah.
got it. All right, thank you.
And I did talk to a couple of people in Mount Pleasant today that were just really excited about the walking path. That was their big thing. They loved that part. So,
Any other council comments? Anyone?
They ruined that boat launch at Birch Park. It's too shallow now. I don't know if they don't have a laser or they don't know how to run a transit or any type of excavation work, but you can't even get bunks in a regular pontoon trailer. You can't even get them wet. So it's absolutely worthless.
yeah.
Whatever money they spend on that, you might as well just light it on fire.
I believe the equipment got stuck, is what I was told, like.
Haven't made it in the
Well, and
office.
boaters have been stuck as well as a result of that.
We couldn't get jet skis off the trailer.
You've all got to take a pail. And
Oh, you're back
wet
in
your-
until you're in the other
wet
side,
your
whatever the
rugs
park is
off.
Yeah,
across the.
right.
Yeah,
the
Right,
channel.
and you hope your vehicle will drive out.
yeah. I had all four wheels in.
Yeah,
Mine.
yeah.
Anything else? Any others?
You're
Okay.
talking about council comments?
Yes.
Oh, sure. So I thought it was really impressive, the amount of money people donated. for the fireworks, and even though taxes are a concern, I think we have good support in this community for growth and improvement. People want it to be better, and I think we will get support.
But we have to make the case that we've been wanting on less than 1 mil since 1998. And smoke and mirrors last a while. After a while, if you want anything, it costs money.
We got to encourage some small group actions out there, not us. You know, they can invite us to come to it, but I think they need to get some small groups, packed groups, whatever they're gonna be called, going around the community to.
And educating that
Correct.
it's
Yep.
not just wanting more. If we're gonna keep what we've got, it's gonna
Right.
cost more.
Yep.
That's right.
And
And
ultimately,
ultimately,
dirt roads, we
Yeah.
can do that.
it's up to the voters too.
Yes.
We put it on the ballot tonight. We didn't spend a nickel. You know, it's up to the voters. The voters decide.
But it's up to us to explain it to them.
Right,
Right.
yes, but I
Yeah.
think that's a good
And
point
we've
too.
got a lot of those materials already prepared and they were scheduled to go live in May.
Yes, which would have been available for the picnic.
I will say no more about why they're not out there.
Okay, well, we'll just keep on putting one foot in front of the other.
Wait, I have a question, please. Okay, so when will those materials be available to us? Is it going to be a uniform plan, or can I have some to hand out?
I will deal with it Monday when I come back to work. I'm
Okay,
on
perfect.
vacation as soon as that gavel
Yes,
hits.
that's good, thank you.
That's
That's a good answer. Yes, yes.
It's up on the agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Dave's gonna hold that gavel on.
You're gonna hit me with it?
Exactly.
I won't say anymore.
Okay, so planning commission next week
And ZBA.
and ZBA.
Correct.
So, and then both on the same day? No.
Yeah, ZBA 5:30 Plan Commission at
That's
7,
okay.
and that's when the public hearing is that Mr. Fox and I are gonna chat about here in a moment.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Not? We're adjourned.
Oh, all right.